What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode. We are back. We are the Fantasy Football Busters. I am Eric. My co-host over here, his name is Will. He's looking good today. How you doing, man?
I'm looking, dog.
Looking great.
You are flattering me way too much, bro. I just rolled out of bed. Come on, you know. But yeah, ready to talk some football, man. After a great week, a lot of I'd say a good amount of developments this week, but we're gonna get into that
Yeah.
obviously. So I'm actually excited to talk about this recap.
Yeah, we had a good week of football to talk about. We got the trade deadline today at 4 p.m. So if we get any breaking news, we're going to be bringing that to you. I hope you guys had a good Halloween weekend. Hopefully you guys are recovered and ready to get back to talking some football with us. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we
Mhm.
had this first game of week 8, the Thursday night game between the Ravens and the Bucks. Ravens edge out a victory 27-22. Lamar had a good bounce back week. Tampa Bay still struggling to find their groove. What are your takeaways from this game, Will?
Yeah, it was just it's encouraging for Lamar Jackson. We expect him to bounce back, and this was a better week for him. Obviously, 22 points, first time scoring over 20 points in a while.
Yeah.
So very good to see there. We talked about it in our injury recap video, so if you guys want to check that out, check it out as well. But Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman both left this game early with injuries. Mark Andrews, the more likely to come back soon. Rashad Bateman, it's looking like it's going to take a lot longer than that. So
Yeah.
not looking great. Isaiah likely able to step up in their absence though with 17 points, and if Andrews misses more time, Isaiah likely looking like a good option at tight end possibly for this team who's down on their targets for sure. Devin
Yeah.
Duvernay also probably getting a bump up as well. He did pretty well
Yeah.
this past week too. As for Tampa Bay, still can't seem to find their groove even after the divorce was finalized. You thought that might have been the one that really
Yeah.
sent Tom Brady through the ceiling. But he is human at the end of the day, and it's taking its toll, and his team is showing it a little bit. Leonard Fournette had a pretty pedestrian day, but it was saved by a touchdown. Rashad White wasn't as involved as he was in the week prior, so the Rashad White takeover that we thought was maybe coming was kind of quelled this last week. Mike Evans continues to play at a high level, and air yards share is really encouraging. And with Chris Godwin, he's seeing a lot of targets, but he's not seeing a whole lot of depth on those targets. So he's looking like a great PPR asset, but in terms of, if you're playing in a standard league, not so much. He's only really not getting too much. He's not getting too much yardage. His average depth of target is low. Do you have anything you want to add for this matchup?
Yeah, I think Evans was missed. Brady missed Evans a couple times in the end zone again, so his day could have been even bigger. Also, I just have a hard time betting against Brady, man. Like on a season-long scale, like I feel like they're gonna find a way to turn it around eventually. This offensive line is gonna start to mesh. Um, I don't see their running game turning around, so it might still be tough for Lenny. But if he can get involved as a receiver, and if this team can start scoring more touchdowns, then all of these guys are going to take a big bump.
Yeah, man, it's tough for me to bet against Tom Brady. It's also tough for me to bet against a witch, And Giselle, very openly a witch, bro. So who knows?
Not a narrative that I had considered, but it's a good point. Let's move on to the next matchup. We had the London game at 9:30 on
Mhm.
Sunday morning between the Broncos and the Jaguars. The Broncos again in a tight one win 21-17. Russ and the Broncos, I guess, looked a little bit better in this one. I don't know. It was weird, but they got the job done. And Trevor Lawrence has been kind of struggling. What did you think between these two teams?
Yeah, Russ and the Broncos, they are what they are at this point. They're kind of mid. If they're gonna go out and get a win, it's gonna be a mid win, and it is what it is. But in terms of just the team from a fantasy perspective, Russ obviously he got like 13 points, so it's a pedestrian day. But fuck it, it's Russ. It's better than what you've been getting, so take it where you can get it. As for Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray, they're splitting the work back there pretty evenly. It's looking like Javante Williams and Melvin Gordon last year. It's just two old guys this year. And Murray getting more of the rushing work, Melvin Gordon getting more of the receiving work. Both of them are touchdown dependent, so neither of them are great options in fantasy. But if you have somebody you got to start, you could start either of them. You're taking as big of a risk on either. Excluding week 2 when Jerry Jeudy left with an injury, Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton have actually been targeted 50 times, and Judy's outproducing Cortland Sutton. So Judy's looking like the better pickup in terms of who was drafted there. Sutton struggling heavily this game or this season so far, even with the volume he has. Greg Dulcich's snaps keep going up week to week, and as we said last week, he's a clear tight end one for this team. He's gonna get the volume. He's just been on the field all the time. It's going great. But this is the news I really wanted to get to. Somebody we were looking forward to this whole year, Travis Etienne. It is
Let's go.
Etienne season, baby.
Let's
Etienne
go.
season. That boy went out there and he ate. He's not Etienne, he's Etienne. You feel me? Because he ate. He went out there, did everything he was supposed to do. It's great to see. But with Trevor Lawrence, like Eric had alluded to earlier, he's been struggling so far as the season has gone along, and it's hurting his receivers. Christian Kirk, I think out of the 3 starting receivers, he's the one with the smallest snap share out of all of them. I think this past week he had like a 77% snap share. The other 2 clocking up at 90 and above. So it's not looking great for Christian Kirk and his usage. And he's not going to be consistent if Trevor Lawrence keeps playing like this either. And Zay and Marvin Jones, they're not looking like great options either. But one good receiving option that has been doing well week to week with the Jaguars has been Evan Ingram. He's seen a bit of a career resurgence with this team. He's ran 100% of the routes and they're just drawn up plays for him and him specifically. Every once in a while, I forget that he's a tight end out there too because he's got 17 on. So I always think it's somebody else. But yeah, ETN season is upon us.
Hell yeah. Absolutely love to see that. He's finally getting what he deserves, the full workload. I can't wait to see what he does for the rest of the season. Evan Ingram, another guy that was targeted in the end zone. He did have 1 touchdown, but he could have had 2. It was a really well drawn up play for him out of the backfield, and he got held by a defender while he was trying to make the catch, so he didn't reel it in. But could have been an even bigger day for him. I think he's actually a really interesting tight end add if he's out there on waivers. Let's move on to the Dolphins-Lions game, which was a shootout, which we were saying before the game. We figured this was coming. The Dolphins win in a barn burner, 31-27. Not a ton of new news for Miami, just the usual suspects getting it done. And Detroit, good to see a bounce-back game from them. What did you take away from this?
Yeah, it's like you said. The guys we knew were going to perform. Tyreek Waddle, studs. Mostert dominating the backfield. Tua, as someone I like to talk shit a lot about, but playing extremely well this year. The team's been able to draw up a lot of stuff for him and make him work the best in his strengths. And that's just, that's what you do. That's great coaching. So Tua, mid-low end QB1. The only new development for this team is that Mike Gesicki's snap share has been increasing and his involvement's been increasing. He's someone else that has been attached to sort of these trade rumors too, so I would keep an eye on it. But as for right now, he's looking like he's a startable tight end in fantasy. So anybody out there, if there's someone in your league that dropped Mike Gesicki and he's on the waivers, you go and pick him up. He's looking like a viable option again. And then moving on to Detroit, Jared Goff, as someone who started out as a top 5, top 10 quarterback in fantasy this season, he's since reached earth again, and he's more of a start in favorable matchups, but not any more than a streamer. He's not someone you want to start every single week anymore. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's usage in light of that, it's still encouraging, but he didn't score a whole lot of points. But I think brighter days are ahead for Amon-Ra St. Brown, so he is still a buy low candidate. And when it comes to DeAndre Swift, is he healthy or is he not? Because
I don't know.
Because I'm tired of this, Grandpa. I'm tired of this.
Well, that's too damn bad.
I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of them saying that DeAndre Swift is healthy and Jamal Williams out touches him and gets the goal line work. Is he healthy or is he not? So hopefully they're just, ramping him back up. But it's something that we had talked about before. Maybe this team can only operate at its highest level when they have both of these running backs at their disposal. Maybe that's what's it. Maybe that was the missing piece these last few weeks and why this offense has been struggling. But I'm tired of seeing this shit. I really am. But that's strictly me talking from a fantasy perspective. From a football perspective, this is amazing. From a fantasy perspective, I hate it.
Yeah, I think as fantasy players, it sucks. And Dan Campbell is the grandpa that's telling us all it's too damn bad because he's probably just going to keep doing it the same way if it's working for him. I think you bring up a good point. I think having these running backs back, a lot of these guys back healthy is definitely going to help this offense as a whole. Mm-hmm. I think matchup also played a big part. Miami's passing defense and defense as a whole has just been really bad on the season. So that was definitely a reason why their offense looked a lot better. But yeah, you mentioned Amon-Ra being kind of a buy low. I still agree with that, even though he's been a little bit disappointing as of late. We will get into the Falcons Panthers game, which was one of the craziest games I've seen in a long time. The Falcons edge them out in overtime, 37-34. I don't know if everybody was following this one, but it looked like the Falcons had this game in the bag. Their percentage, whatever. They should have won the game, is what I'm trying to say. And then a deep Hail Mary by PJ Walker, outstanding throw to DJ Moore in the back of the end zone, touchdown. All they need is the extra point to win the game. But DJ Moore takes his helmet off, which we find out after the fact shouldn't have been a flag because he was off the field. They missed the elongated extra point. Atlanta throws a pick in overtime. Carolina drives down, had another chance to kick a field goal and win the game. Eddie Pinheiro misses another one, and the Falcons win. That was a rant, but that was a crazy game. What did you think as far as the fantasy takeaways?
So in terms of the fantasy takeaways, because I didn't get to watch this game, Eric actually filled me in on everything before.
Wild.
It's a wild game. But from a fantasy perspective, Kyle Pitts finally fucking showed up this year. Finally.
Let's go.
Finally. 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. That's encouraging. That's what we like to see. But on the other hand, Drake London, he's continuing to disappoint. It's seeming like this team doesn't know how to use more than one weapon at a time. But I'm not going to go on a rant about the Falcons. We've heard enough about that. And then Tyler Algier had significantly more snaps in this game. But he's still splitting carries evenly with Caleb Huntley. So it's not like he's really taking that lead back role. I don't know how they're running this offense. But they put up 37 points. So they're not going anywhere, apparently. So I just don't know what's happening. And when it comes to the Panthers, we had a tweet from Ian Hartitz, and he said that the only explanation for Deonta Foreman's performance is that he absorbed both Christian McCaffrey and King Henry's powers. And after that performance, seems about right. It seemed like Deonta Foreman met up with the aliens from Space Jam and was able to get their powers, and he balled out because he went absolutely stupid. And as Eric spoke about before, DJ Moore had a huge game. Something we had spoken about a couple weeks ago with PJ Walker coming in the start. DJ Moore, historically one of PJ Walker's favorite targets on the team, which makes sense because he's the best receiver on the team. Why the fuck wouldn't he be? But DJ Moore popping off. It's looking like we wrote him off a little bit too soon. The change at quarterback probably helped a ton. And PJ Walker has been named the starter going forward. Baker Mayfield officially on the bench. So DJ Moore could be a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season going forward.
Yeah, definitely exciting. It's really good to see him actually be used like a wide receiver 1 and get the opportunity because he's just so good. We all knew this. The whole fantasy community knew this. It just wasn't, the opportunities weren't there. But to see him doing well is really cool. I do want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts, big game. The Falcons finally threw the ball a little bit. Comparatively speaking to the NFL, it still wasn't a lot of attempts, but more than they have, I think, all but one other game this season.
Right.
Is this a sell high opportunity, or do we believe that this is going to continue?
Sell them.
As much as I hate to say it, I think that's probably the right move in season long. Obviously, Dynasty, we're all holding. None of that has changed.
Hold
He's still
the line.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is still a god, and in Dynasty, you're not moving him. But season long, you might want to take this opportunity to get him off your team.
If you could sell him, I'd probably sell him. I'd get rid of the headache, the heartache, all of it. Just let it go.
Yeah. I hope I'm wrong though. I hope it continues. Would love to see that for Kyle Pitts.
How you feel about Phillip? You think he's a good quarterback for people to pick up, Mr. Walker? That's what PJ is, Phillip.
No, I don't. Let's move on to the next matchup between the Vikings and the Cardinals. Another fairly high scoring game. We had a lot of them this week. The Vikings win 34-26. Dalvin doing his best to make us look bad. We were calling him a sell. We weren't saying that he was going to be bad, but we were saying that he might be on the decline. He looked really good this game. And DeAndre Hopkins also proving the haters wrong. He's certainly not washed. Absolutely having a monster game. What were your biggest takeaways from this one?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from this was, like you said, Dalvin did his best to prove us wrong about being a sell. At the time when we said it, I don't blame us because Madison was getting a whole lot more work. He may still get more work going forward, but he didn't get a whole lot this week, but he was still able to score a touchdown from Dalvin Cook. So, like I said, I'm still not super confident about Dalvin going forward. But like you said, Jay Jettas and Adam Thielen both played pretty well. Adam Thielen kind of took on that I think we had spoken about it before where we had said Adam Thielen was sort of leaning into more that sort of wide receiver, tight end hybrid role, like that comfort role for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, the security blanket.
Yeah, and I think he did with 6 catches, 67 yards. Not a bad turnout for him. And Jay Jettas, he does Jay Jettas things. Kind of expect a little bit more, to be honest, but hey, it is what it is. And then Irv Smith's snap share went way down in this one, but he hurt his ankle as well, so we're not sure if that's to blame or not. And like we said in our injury recap video, if Herb Smith's the missed time, Johnny Munt is the next guy up. Don't know if anybody's picking him up, though. And as for Arizona, D-Hop told us essentially to shut the hell up. He's still that guy. 12 catches, 159 yards, and a touchdown. Can we get a sheesh in the chat? That's a sheesh.
Sheesh.
D-Hop's still that guy. Rondale Moore also looked amazing this game. Looked really good in this one. He's used a lot more in the slot where he's more effective, but just the fact that he was able to come out here and make a lot happen and Robbie Anderson wasn't very involved kind of shows that Rondale Moore is still in that number 2 role for this offense for sure, especially with, Marquise Brown being out. So, yeah, looking forward to Rondale Moore if he's available in your league. Definitely worth picking up if you haven't yet. We've been saying this, I feel like, every week that people should pick up Rondale Moore. Yeah. And with Eno Benjamin is no longer the workhorse now that Darrell Williams is back healthy, which is something we suspected. Like, we don't think he's going to be that guy. But I think that once everyone is back healthy, this backfield may move more towards a committee. But what are your do you have any other takeaways from this game?
Specifically for Rondale, you mentioned that Robbie Anderson wasn't that involved, but because he had he got a full week of practicing with the team after the trade, he was used primarily out wide, which is what moved Rondale majority into the slot, which is exactly what we want to see. That's where Rondale's going to be at his best, and that's what we got from this game. Eno honestly had looked good in his opportunities, but clearly the team's just not ready to give him that workhorse role. Darrell Williams cut into his role heavily. And I wanted to bring up with Justin Jefferson, we've been talking about this Arizona Cardinals matchup versus number 1 wide receivers a lot. So I think that probably had something to do with it wasn't a disappointing performance, but maybe, not quite up to Jefferson's standards.
Out of everybody Arizona's been able to box up, I think Justin Jefferson did the best out of everybody. Like, he was able to handle it extremely well.
Yeah, so that was good to see. And Dalvin, I'm not ready to take the L yet, like you said. I think a lot of that had to do with his injury status and whether, that gets re-aggravated throughout the season. And yeah, we'll see if Madison continues to be involved, but we will see.
Also, quick note.
Yeah.
Cardinals lost. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out this weekend. That's all I got. So.
Always a good point. Let's get into the next one between the Cowboys and the Bears. This one, again, really high scoring affair. Cowboys win 49 to the Bears 29. Cowboys didn't have to throw much. They dominated on the ground with Tony Pollard. Chicago, even though they lost by quite a bit, I think it was still an impressive performance. I think Luke Getsy as a play caller, things are starting to turn around, and Justin Fields is looking really promising. So that's good to see. What were your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, my takeaways, Dalton Schultz and CeeDee Lamb both had pretty nice fantasy days, but like you said, they didn't have to throw the ball a lot because Tony Pollard is a fucking animal. He's an animal. 14 carries, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's like we've been saying, it's like Tony Pollard is a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott at this point in his career. But,
almost it's almost like he's a better running back.
Yeah. But I think Jerry has spent too much money on Zeke that he just can't admit it at this point.
Yeah.
He can't admit it. So it's just, we're going to continue to see this going forward. But Tony Pollard is an absolute monster. I think any game where Zeke has been out, he scored 30 points and up. Where Zeke was completely out, I believe. But it's crazy. And as for Chicago, when it comes to Luke Getsy and Justin Fields, got to give them a lot of credit. Justin Fields has scored 23 and 26 points the last 2 weeks against 2 very, very tough defenses in the Pats and the Cowboys. And the Bears schedule is coming up Bears schedule coming up is pretty good. They got some good
Yeah.
matchups. It was something that you and I had talked about because, we got all these trades going on today. Today's the trade deadline. Robert Quinn was recently shipped off from the Bears. Seems like they're clearing house. Not Robert Quinn. Yeah, Robert Quinn
Yeah,
was too.
Robert Quinn
And
and
Roquan
Roquan
Smith.
Smith.
So it
Yep.
seems like they're clearing house over there in Chicago. And I'm excited to see what they can do with a team where they are really building for Justin Fields because in this past offseason, they didn't do it at all, really.
Yep.
And it looks like they're starting to commit to that a little bit more now that he's performing with nothing, essentially. He's got, I think the tweet that you sent me, he had turnstiles for an offensive line. I thought that was funny as shit. And speaking about those trade rumors, David Montgomery is rumored to be on the trade block, and it makes sense because Khalil Herbert has been playing extremely well. Like right now, Khalil
Yep.
Herbert is ranked 7th in the NFL in rushing, and that's with him splitting carries with David Montgomery. So it's just, it's looking like it's time for them to, invest in the young talent and sort of move on from the old regime, just start completely building new. And I think that's what they're trying to do now. So we're keeping an eye on that situation, and we're going to see what the Bears can do. They're still the Bears at the end of the day, but they're showing a little bit of competency, and I'm hoping they can do the best, especially for Justin Fields, because I want to see him do well.
Yeah, you mentioned the easy schedule coming up for the Bears. I think Justin Fields, he already has been these past 2 weeks, and really the past 4 weeks, he's been a viable fantasy starter, and I think that's going to continue until their bye week in I think week 13 or week 14. It's late in the season, so that's pretty cool to see. And then from the Cowboys' perspective, yeah, I saw somebody tweeted out that like Zeke is good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a good pass blocker. He's a pretty decent receiver. He's good in between the tackles, outside the tackles, all that stuff. So they don't really have to like draw up the offense around his talents the way that they do around Tony Pollard. And like I get that. So like I see why you want to have Zeke on the field to keep the defense guessing or whatever. But just the performance that we've seen out of Pollard whenever Zeke has been off the field, it seems like he's carrying the team. So I'm not sure how much validity that argument has. I would love to see Pollard get more of the workload.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, bro. That's the last thing I'm gonna say about it. But that it's a good point that they got to drop the offense a little bit more for Pollard. But at the end of the day, bro, you're getting paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Do your fucking jobs.
Yeah.
Just do your
Yep.
job. It is what it is. At the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to win. You know.
True. Yep. So we'll move on to the Saints and the Raiders, which, oof, man, the Raiders look so bad. The Saints win this one 24 to the Raiders, a goose egg, 0. Did absolutely nothing. Welcome back, Alvin Kamara. He absolutely killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Not much to say from the Vegas Raiders perspective. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, it was just welcome back, Alvin Kamara. Just amazing. Able to score 3 times with a 38-point fantasy day. That's what we like to see, baby. That's what we
Hell
like.
yeah.
That's what
Hell
we
yeah.
like. Chris Olave, however, he had a down game, but I'm not concerned because his usage was still there. It just didn't turn into anything really tangible, but that's going to change, especially if the usage stays the same. And then
Especially if they, sorry to cut you off,
No.
especially if they play somebody that scores points in a game, then maybe they'll have to throw the ball.
Jesus. Yeah, that's also a
Thanks,
great...
Raiders.
That's a great point. And then Juwan Johnson's usage also very good. So it's looking like as long as Adam Troutman is out, Johnson is a startable asset. And it also, another thing we talked about in our injury recap video, Mark Ingram also out for 3 to 4 weeks. So we're actually looking at Taysom Hill a little bit with a little bit of a bump up. Got 10 carries this past week for 61 yards. That may continue forward. May even get a bump up going forward. And like Eric said about the Raiders, bro, your disappointments. That's it. That's really all I got to say. Your ass. There was no real shining star on this team. Everybody was mid as fuck. Do better. You're an NFL team. Do better. That's it. You scored 0 points. I'm not talking about a team that scored 0 points.
Let's move on. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Eagles Steelers. The Eagles mopped the floor with the Steelers, taking them 35-13. AJ Brown absolutely explodes in this one, going 6 for 156 and 3. Absolutely amazing to see. Pittsburgh continues to struggle, but to be expected against a really tough Philly defense.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in this one, my guy?
Yeah, AJ Brown went absolutely nuclear with 6 catches, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns, going absolutely stupid. And Devonta Smith, while he didn't put much up on the stat sheet itself, he still saw 8 targets. So I'd say he's a buy low candidate for the week. If you guys there's any, panicking Devonta Smith owner, especially, we're at the past the midway point of the fantasy season. If someone's looking, trying to beef up their team a little bit, you may be able to get Devonta Smith on your team for a discount. Miles Sanders didn't touch the ball a whole lot because A.J. Brown kept scoring 50-yard touchdowns. It's hard to score when you're not really in the red zone a whole lot. So,
yeah.
Not worried about Sanders. I would keep an eye on it, though, just because there has been some links between Alvin Kamara and the Eagles for some reason. I don't think the Eagles really have the capital to get Kamara. I think the Saints said they're looking for, like, Christian McCaffrey level assets for that trade to happen.
I think they do have the capital because Howie Roseman is doing an incredible job.
They do. They have been stacking picks.
But I also think that Howie Roseman is smart enough to not trade away a king's ransom for a running back. So I doubt that deal is going to happen. But you never know.
Yeah. It's just something to keep an eye on. Like I said, things may get interesting before 4 o'clock, but we don't know. And then Jalen Hurts is just proving to be consistent. Like, I know there were some issues going into the season where people are, he's got to show he can be consistent. He's done it. He's just that guy. He's playing extremely well. He's playing at the highest level you can. And we're going to talk about the other team in Pennsylvania. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pat Freiermuth is the only bright spot on this team. Everyone else, ass. Najee Harris, ass. I've never seen a running back in my entire fucking life. I've never seen a running back who was 6'3", 225, catch the ball with 3 yards. You just got to run fucking straight. He's doing all this dipping and diving and dodging. Bro, just run straight. Just run straight. That's all he had to do right there. So it's not even, I don't even know if we know it's not coaching because Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches ever, honestly.
Yep.
I just don't know what's going on with these players. I don't know, mentally something's happening. I guess it could be demoralizing they're playing as badly as they are, but this team is not doing well. It's bad. It's really bad. They're a bad team, though. There's not much to really expect, but I kind of expected a little bit more than this,
Yeah, you say that it's probably not coaching, and I agree. I think Mike Tomlin is a really, really good coach. I wouldn't put much of it on him, but I think their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, has definitely come into question throughout this season. And we heard a lot of interesting remarks from players post-game. Kenny Pickett coming out and saying that we're not studying enough as a group and we're not prepared for these games. Najee Harris kind of echoing similar sentiments, seeming like, I don't know if it's a coaching thing, if it's a buy-in, kind of like engagement from the players. Not sure what it is, but not a positive look after the game for those guys. I totally forgot what I was about to say, but never mind. Doesn't matter. Pittsburgh sucks. We'll move on to the next matchup. Patriots and Jets. This was just a really ugly game. It ended up being a decently high scoring 22-17. The Patriots take the win, but yeah, the quarterback play in this one was just horrendous. Ramondre still looks really good. Nobody on the Jets is really doing anything. Tyler Conklin kind of randomly popped off in this one, but I don't have too much to say other than that. What do you got from this game?
Yeah, it's just Ramondre Stevenson is amazing, even in light of Damian Harris getting a lot of snaps. Got a significant number of snaps, wasn't able to do much with it. And Ramondre Stevenson, 16 carries for 71 on the ground and then 7 catches for 72 through the air. It's just, he's been the leading receiver for this team for the last 2 weeks. And
yeah,
he's leading the team in targets since week 2. He's just kind of been the guy on this offense. Another guy who's been the guy on this offense, Jacoby Myers. So just 2 bright spots on an otherwise, not very great situation of a team. But Jacoby Myers putting up pretty good numbers very quietly with 11 targets, able to turn that into 9 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. He's just proven to be consistently looked at by these quarterbacks on this team. He's just somebody the team trusts. And as for the Jets, Zach Wilson started the game off well, kind of fucked it off at the end of the game. So it's Zach Wilson. We weren't really expecting much from him to start. And Tyler Conklin, out of everybody on this team, able to turn 6 catches into 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I wouldn't really expect a whole lot from the other Jets pass catchers on this team. I believe I'm taking a look at the stats now just to see because I don't want to speak out my ass. Yeah, Garrett Wilson also had a good game this week. Six
Yeah,
catches, 115 yards. Just wasn't able to see the end zone, but he's been very on and off this season as well. So it's not super encouraging, really. It's just I'd consider it an outlier until I see more.
yeah,
But when it comes to the Jets, no one's really, really good. And even this running back group, now that they've lost Brees Hall and they've got Michael Carter and James Robinson back there, neither of them were good. So it's just
yeah.
neither running back's really viable right now. So this Jets team is kind of in a weird middle ground, I guess, now that they're trying to find their identity without Brees Hall.
Yeah. You said, and I think we're on the same page here. I'm not calling you out. You said that nobody on this team is really that good. I think from an NFL perspective,
Oh, they're
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Like Elijah Moore, who has been relegated basically to the bench. Garrett Wilson, like you mentioned, is an absolute dog. Like
He's
they
a
have
stud.
really talented guys on this team, but Zach Wilson isn't able to get him the ball. Yeah, Zach Wilson, I think, had a huge bomb throw to Garrett Wilson, which was like a 50 or 60 yarder or something like that boosted his stats. Like you said, there's just not any sort of consistency that you can expect from these guys going forward. What was really happy to see Ramondre still produce at a high level, even with Damian Harris being more and more involved. Damian Harris, I wonder if he's 100% healthy. From what the team has said, he seems like he is, but he's been woefully inefficient. He's really struggling. So hopefully Ramondre continues to handle a good amount of the workload, especially in the passing game. That's going to be huge for him.
Hell yeah.
So we'll get into the Titans Texans. Definitely an even uglier matchup. Holy crap, Malik Willis was bad, dude. It was rough for your
So
boy.
so look. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. I said okay. So look. I said Malik Willis would start by week 10. I was correct. I didn't say he would play well by week 10. But this is also a game where he didn't really have to do shit because
No, the Titans still won.
Yeah.
The Titans still won this game 17-10 versus the Texans. Sorry to cut you off, but
No.
yeah, I wanted to make that clear.
No, you're good, bro, because Derrick Henry is a fucking animal. He hates the Texans, bro. Derrick Henry does not fuck with the Texans.
He's got a vendetta against them.
Because every time they play the Texans, he's scoring at least 30 fantasy points. Locked.
Yeah.
32 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was King Henry in full effect. Malik Willis.
Is this the fourth? I think this is the fourth straight game he's played against the Texans that he's gone over 200 rushing yards.
It 100% is. Yes.
That's ludicrous.
He hates the Texans. There's no other explanation besides that.
Yeah.
And then I guess to talk about the Texans is nobody else on the Titans did shit. That's why we're not talking about them. But hard to do shit when your quarterback throws for 55 yards. But when we're going over to the Texans, Davis Mills, ass.
Yeah.
He's ass.
Same situation.
He's ass. He's so bad. And then when it comes to other players on the team, Dameon Pierce continues to just get involved no matter what the game script is. They want to keep him on the field. They want to keep him involved. So that's encouraging, at least for Dameon Pierce owners. And Brandon Cooks did okay this game. It wasn't a terrible game. Wasn't a bad game. Wasn't a mid game from Brandon Cooks. It was an okay game, I'd say it was a mid game. It was a mid game. But, it's not a whole lot to really talk about with this game. It was a shitty game. Derrick Henry's a monster. Davis Mills is ass.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
That's it.
That's all we got, man. It was an ugly one.
Yeah.
We can go to the Seahawks Giants matchup. The Seahawks take out the hot Giants, who they were 6-1 coming into this game. They dropped to 6-2. Seahawks beat them 27-13. I don't know how DK managed to play in this game and play well. He's like an alien or something. It's wild. And Saquon Barkley, also an alien, can't be stopped. You love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have for this one?
Yeah, it's like you said, DK not human because he has a partially torn patella and he still caught six passes for 55 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. And with the torn patella, I don't even know if I can walk. So he's not human. Tyler Lockett also had a pretty good game this week. Dropped a pretty big pass as well. So he's having some drop issues, but it's nothing really. It's not really a thing.
Once in a blue moon, he's going to do that. And he bounced right back. He caught another touchdown in this game after dropping the first one. He'll be fine.
Yeah, so it is what it is. And then Kenneth Walker's day was saved on the touchdown late in the game on amazing touchdown run. Honestly, I thought it was
It was
incredible.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we're able to
So I
reverse
guess
field.
I put saved in there, but maybe that's the wrong verbiage because he really
No,
created that one. It was nice.
he saved his day with that touchdown. Which,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's still the day had to be saved with the touchdown. Not the most encouraging stuff in the world. Travis Homer came back, so he took a lot of the passing down work. So, I guess not as encouraging for Kenneth Walker as a passing down option. He's still going to get involved a little bit, I think, but not as much as he was before. And as a rusher, he's definitely the guy as a rusher going forward. So we are confident about that. And with Saquon, like you said, we're geniuses. There's nothing else really to say. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's so good. So he's just being Saquon.
Yep.
And Wandale Robinson, the guy who everybody was talking about this week going into this week, saying he was going to be the guy, was out targeted by Darius Slayton, Marcus Johnson, and Tanner Hudson, who two of those guys are not like the other. I don't know who the fuck those guys are. Darius Slayton has kind of been a guy for the last few years, never really been consistent, but Wandale Robinson, seeing him get out targeted like this, not great, especially coming off a week where he was targeted at a super high rate. But also it is to note that who was it? Why am I blanking right now? Oh, Kadarius Toney's gone. So Wandale should get a bump. I don't fucking know. I don't really know with the Giants, man. It's Daniel Jones back there at quarterback. Who knows who the fuck he wants to throw the ball to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough situation to sort out aside from Saquon, who's clearly and obviously a beast. I hope that Wandale gets more involved. Seattle's defense has actually been surprisingly good. They kind of turned it around this past few weeks after starting out like putrid. They were one of the worst defenses in the league, but they have really been on the rise recently. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it. Their corners on the outside are doing better, but also Wandale's not really an outside guy. Weird situation all around. And yeah, Kenneth Walker, like you mentioned, it's a little concerning. They went up against a good run defense this week, but you're still starting him every week. It's not like you're taking him out of your lineups, so not too worried.
Agreed.
We go on to the Commanders versus the Colts in just a back and forth slugfest. Commanders edge it out late, 17-16. Antonio Gibson seems to be retaking control of this backfield. JT re-injures his ankle in this one. Both teams, with new quarterbacks. I'm interested to hear what you got to say about this one.
Yeah, it's just like you said, Antonio Gibson looks like he's taking that RB1 role back, and he's been looking good while he's doing it. So it's encouraging to see. I think the team really wanted to light a fire under him, and I think they've successfully done that. So that's good to see. Also, they've got running back depth now, so you don't have to be as worried if AG does break down. They do know the team will be okay going forward. So I'd say for Washington, that's encouraging news. And with Terry McLaurin, his target share with Taylor Heineke is up to 25%. So something we kind of alluded to last week that we wanted to see again this week to make sure it was true. But it does look like there is chemistry between McLaurin and Taylor Heineke, which makes sense. They've been playing together for the last 2 years. So Terry McLaurin looks like he could be good going forward. But I'd still be looking to sell him to somebody who's more excited about the situation than, you are. Because we don't know what this team is going to look like, especially when Carson Wentz comes back. Because he could come back and they very well could say he's the starter and put him right back in, just slot him right back in. So we just don't know. With the team winning, maybe not. But with Washington, it's hard to tell. I'm not super confident in anybody, so I wouldn't really want any real estate in that team. If you could sell them after this game, I would go for it. Him and Gibby.
Yeah, Gibby, I'm a little bit more tough to say.
Yeah.
I think he's looked really good in the role that he's gotten. He's getting more involved in the passing game, so that's encouraging. McLaurin, he's obviously incredibly talented. It's nothing against him. He's a great receiver. But his fantasy days have been saved by 2 YOLO balls from Taylor Heineke late in games to save the day. And McLaurin, to give him all the credit that he's due, he's come down with both of them. But if he doesn't catch those balls, his fantasy day looks a lot worse, which is why I still think he's probably a sell if you can get good value for him.
No, that makes sense because it's the truth. He literally got saved on a last-second touchdown. Or a last-second bomb, even. I don't think he didn't score a touchdown on that. His last-second bomb.
No. Yep.
And then with Indianapolis, as we talked about with Jonathan Taylor, looks like he re-injured his ankle in the first quarter and he stayed in the game. So hopefully it's not serious. But if they are to downgrade him throughout the week because something did get re-aggravated, something along that nature, look towards like Nyheim Hines, Deion Jackson, who took the role from Jonathan Taylor, who did very well within the Jonathan Taylor role a couple weeks back.
Just a note, I've also been hearing some rumors swirling around Naheem Hines at the trade deadline. He might get
Whoa.
moved. Yeah.
Whoa. So if he does get moved, Deion Jackson might be a good big up right there. You know what I'm saying? It's a
Yep.
handcuff stash.
Yep.
And then Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce were both.
Alec Pierce.
Yep, we're both. I was almost said Damien. I was so close. We're
Yeah.
okay with Sam Ellinger under center, but if this offense can't score, things aren't really looking good for anyone in this offense. So they got to get that together. But it was encouraging to see that the guys that we thought were the guys in this passing offense are still the guys. Outside of Paris Campbell, he wasn't super involved this week, but Michael Pittman, good to see him involved. But we got to see this offense really get rolling. And not gonna lie, struggling against the Commanders first game, not the best of signs, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're holding on to Pittman or Pierce, I think it's possible that brighter days are ahead. This was Sam Ellinger's first start of the season, so you probably want to temper expectations, and hopefully he improves as the season goes on. It was kind of encouraging. He was able to push the ball further down the field and outside the numbers in a way that Matt Ryan just really wasn't
Yeah.
prior to this. So I think that if that continues and Ellinger can step up his play overall, that could definitely mean good things for the wide receiver options in Indianapolis. But tough to really predict that from Ellinger. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
So we got the 49ers and the Rams matchup next. The 49ers take it to the Rams 31-14. Christian motherfucking McCaffrey, baby. He's the RB1 that we knew he was going to be. It just took a little bit longer than expected, but that's okay, man. He's back. And the Rams, rough, dude. It's bad.
Yeah, bro. At this rate, Christian McCaffrey it's looking like he's just going to be this team. Like he's doing everything. He did it all, bro. He threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown, ran a touchdown. First person to do it since 2005 with LaDainian Tomlinson. It's just he's playing out of his mind right now. Every time they needed somebody, it was Christian McCaffrey. Also, another fun statistic that I saw on Twitter. Jimmy Garoppolo and Christian McCaffrey both have the same amount of throws outside the numbers for 30-plus yards.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah.
In their entire career with the 49ers,
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey matched them.
So
Yeah.
that's encouraging going forward for Christian McCaffrey. Like you said, all he needed was a new team, new situation. Looks like the Panthers are also in a better place for it too. So you kind of like to see stuff like this where it sort of is a mutualistic situation. So that's what it's looking like. And it's looking like as long as the 49ers have to throw the ball, Kittle and Ayuk are going to continue to be solid. Brandon Ayuk continuing to be a dog. George Kittle stepping back up to, not doing amazing, but doing enough to at least be a viable tight end, So that's at the very least what you want out of a tight end that you drafted as a tight end 3, So that's good for George Kittle there, or tight end 4, whatever it is you drafted him as. But as for the LA Rams, like you said, kind of ass. Cooper Kupp goes down with an ankle injury. We're not super sure if he's going to play this week, so I'm scared to see what a Rams team looks like without Cooper Kupp. Allen Robinson got more involved, but he wasn't doing great. Higbee was also disappointing, but he took a big hit in the first quarter, and it was qualified as a neck injury, so he wasn't super. He came back to the game, but he wasn't super involved anymore, so that's a weird situation too. This Rams team is just super disjointed. They've also been tied to every single trade rumor going on right now, so it just kind of shows they're really scrambling right now, I think. Do you have anything else you want to say about this matchup, man? Because I'm worried about this Rams team for sure.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add about the Rams. It's Cooper Kupp and nobody else, it seems like. Even if they trade for somebody, especially like they've been rumored to a lot of running backs, I don't see any of them really moving the needle. This offensive line has been terrible. The team overall isn't scoring. So I don't see a running back making a huge difference, even if it's a guy like Kareem Hunt, who I'm also just not as high on him as a player as I think a lot of people are. I think at this point in his career, he's taken a little bit of a step back. But for San Francisco, I want to ask you, when Debo comes back, and it could still be a couple weeks from now, what do you think his role is going to be? Because it seems like Christian McCaffrey is kind of playing that Debo role right now, and maybe better than Debo was doing it.
See, that's the thing. I think that nod is going to go more towards Christian McCaffrey, but they are going to mix Debo in. So I think it's going to be a situation, I feel like, and this is all conjecture, so don't take any of this for fact. But I think Christian McCaffrey is still going to be more so in that Debo role. But I think it's going to open the field up a lot more when they do put
Yep.
Debo in those situations because you really don't know what you're going to get anymore. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
anytime Debo was in the backfield, you knew for a fact it's going to Debo in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But you don't
Yeah.
really have that same certainty anymore.
Yeah. No, it's going to be exciting out there in San Francisco. Can't wait to see it.
Oh yeah.
Then we had the late game Sunday night, Bills versus Packers. The score was a little bit closer than I think the game really seemed like it should have been. Bills ended up winning 27-17, but the Bills really dominated this one. Green Bay continues to struggle. Aaron Jones is really the only bright spot on that team, and the usual suspects for the Bills continue to eat.
Yeah, it's just like you said, usual suspects for the Bills. Diggs able to have a great day. Josh Allen obviously had a great day. Davis and Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox were both very involved. Weren't able to really turn that into big days, but still, the usage is there, so it's encouraging going forward. Khalil Shakir, in terms of the slot takeover, we thought was coming, not really coming. So we'll eat crow on
My
that one.
bad.
It's okay.
My bad.
It's all right, man. It happens. It happens. But still plenty of season left. It could, but. And when it comes to Green Bay, it's funny how everything comes full circle because we're now all yelling free Aaron Jones yet again, but for different
Yep.
reasons than we used to. Used to be because
Yep.
he wasn't getting the burn that he was supposed to get on a good team. Now he's getting all the burn he's supposed to get, but on a shitty team, and it sucks to see
Yep.
it. But he's able to at least turn it into something good for himself. Not able to really turn anything good for the team, so it hurts to see. And then Romeo Dobbs able to bounce back this week. He had a really impressive touchdown grab, and hopefully leads to better and more consistent usage. And keep in mind, this is after Christian Watson was also out of this game. Alan Lazard also not playing this week, so I would temper expectations, but it is at least hopeful that the team knows they have another receiver on this team. But I just really don't
Yeah.
know what Green Bay's doing.
Yeah, it's really tough to trust any of the wide receivers in Green Bay, even Dobbs at this point, because he had a good start to the season, had a good bounce back this week, but in between he had some real dud games. I guess that's kind of what you expect from what was he like a fourth or fifth round rookie, a later round rookie receiver. He's just not going to have the same consistency that you would expect from some veteran guys. But yeah, this Green Bay team just I don't know that they're going to be able to turn it around, man. It's tough to bet against um, Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur because they've just proved to be so good in the regular season. But I don't see this getting a lot better. Do you?
Yeah, it's tough for me to see any type of a bounce back, especially with as well as the Vikings have been playing.
Yeah.
It's tough to see any. The Packers would have to do a lot. They'd have to do a lot to get back into that talks of just. I don't know. I don't even know. They got to do a
Yeah.
lot to get back in the bubble. To be honest with you, so it's just
Facts.
yeah.
Yeah, and that will lead us into our last game on the slate, the Browns versus the Bengals. This one was a weird one, not what I expected. Obviously, divisional game, you expect it to be more competitive, but I think most people probably would have had their money on the Bengals, and they came out and laid an egg. Browns really dominated this one, 32-13. Um, the Bengals just didn't have any answers for the Browns defense. What did you have any good takeaways from this one?
Uh, Main takeaway is I thought about betting on the Browns and I should have, but I didn't.
Yeah,
But the Browns just absolutely dominated in this game. Jacoby Brissett looked pretty good. Like he wasn't amazing, but he did really well. Threw 17 for 22, 278 and a touchdown.
yeah,
Nick Chubb still the best pure runner in the NFL. 23 carries,
yeah.
101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Doing it week after week. Amari Cooper continues to shine. 5 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. So it's just the guys who are at least studs on the Browns have proven that they are studs. They're going to keep doing
Yeah.
what they do. I'm excited and I'm also worried to see what this Browns team looks like after Deshaun Watson comes back because it's going to be a very different
Same.
looking team.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was something that we talked about in the preseason, before the season kicked off, that we were worried that it might be a little bit disappointing or at least inconsistent for these studs that you talked about, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, while Brissett was under center. But Brissett has really been super solid and is, I wouldn't say elevating, but he's at least facilitating really good fantasy days for these guys.
mm-hmm.
So, Deshaun Watson, early in his career, obviously incredibly promising, very, very talented quarterback. We'll see what he looks like now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the change is.
Yeah, cause I don't know. The guy hasn't played football in like 2 years, and they're just gonna
Yeah.
slot him into this team. So it just stands to be seen. And then moving on to Cincinnati, the Bengals had zero answers for the Browns defense until it was way too late in the game. They didn't start scoring until later in the game. It was kind of crazy. Mixon couldn't get anything going on the ground. Something that somebody noted on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but shout out to that person because they brought it to my attention. If I can find it, I'll link them down in the description. That way you guys can know. But they were saying that Joe Mixon's inefficiency is very similar to Najee Harris, and people don't really want to talk about it. But
I
it's
saw that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of right there. But I don't. I think Mixon has an opportunity to bounce back because he's on a way better team. So it's in no
Yeah.
way is it the same as the Najee Harris situation. But I still think Mixon, he's not looking great. But he also caught 7 passes, which was awesome. But he did nothing with it at all.
Yeah. This is one that I'm excited to talk about. If please like and subscribe to our channel because we got a lot of videos coming out. We're gonna do a buy sell video that we do every week. We discussed Joe Mixon and we've talked about him multiple times in different buy sell videos. My opinion on him has kind of been swaying back and forth. This Jamar Chase injury definitely kind of affected the outlook of this offense and Joe Mixon specifically. So we won't go super far in depth here, but if you get a chance, check out that video coming later in the week. We're definitely gonna be talking about him again.
Absolutely. And then as for T Higgins and Tyler Boyd, they were able to get into the end zone late, which saved both of their fantasy days. And we're hoping that this is just a bad day for the Bengals and they can turn it around. But if this is a sign of what they look like without Jamar Chase on the field, it's going to be a rough end of the season for them because we don't know when or if Jamar Chase is coming back this season. Now, they keep saying he's going to come back this season. I'm not super confident, super hopeful. I, I honestly, I'm not super familiar with the injury in itself. I know it was some sort of a tendon tear that ended up breaking a piece of his hip as well. Just a little bit
Yeah,
of bone off of it.
right. I'm also not, neither of us are doctors. I'm not super familiar either, but it was like a strain on the tendon. So we have that one. And then also like the physical force of the strain, I think broke a chip of the bone like off his hip or whatever the case was. It's a really serious injury from what I've heard from, the doctors on Twitter and stuff like that. And they've been talking about timelines. Most of them seem to be leaning on the longer end of the recovery spectrum for Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's not looking super hopeful. Like for Jamar Chase's sake, I kind of want him to stay out, but we'll see if he comes back and if he's able to perform. Because if he could come back and perform, he might be able to. I've seen some takes from fantasy doctors saying that by week 12 he could be back at
We'll
like
see.
yeah
Yeah,
at stud status, which I don't believe, but we'll see.
I hope so. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. And then just a little bit more news, at least on the injury perspective for the Bengals. Doesn't really move things for fantasy, but Chidobe Awuzie feared to be out with an ACL tear, which would be a major loss to this defense. Sam Hubbard also had some issues with his hand, but they don't believe those are serious at all. They did some X-rays, and I don't believe there's anything crazy. He has a splint on his finger, but nothing insane. So Chidobe Awuzie be a big loss for the defense. Just more struggles for the Bengals coming forward, and hopefully the offense can get it together. But if they play like this every week, like you said, it's going to be tough sledding for them. But
Yeah.
that's going to wrap up our recap of all these games. Thank you guys for sitting through all this if you did. Uh, if you guys want, we're giving away free fantasy football advice. Drop that down in the comments. Literally ask any question you want, whether that be sit
For real.
starts, buy sells, anything. Ask away. If you send us a sit start and it's before our sit start video, so usually try to get those in like Wednesday. If you get those in Wednesday, we will be able to answer those on our episode on our show as well. So get those in. Make sure you check us out on our other socials as well because we are also doing a lot of cool stuff over there. Eric, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, we got all the links to that stuff down in the description. We're on Twitter. We're active there, helping you out. Mostly like Sunday mornings, getting your lineup set, showing you like weather reports, anything that's going to affect the games, getting you ready for the full slate before it happens. TikTok, we're really active over there, putting out a lot of fun content, but also some really useful fantasy content. We're doing a lot of the same stuff we're doing on here: buy sells, sit starts, stuff like that, and a few extras in there, breaking news, all that sort of good stuff. So go give us a follow over there. We're picking up steam. And yeah, if you got something useful out of this, drop a like. Would be much appreciated. Helps us out. Subscribe to the channel. You'll see all the videos we got coming down the pipeline. So yeah, thank you for sticking with us. If you stayed this long, we love you. As always, we appreciate you. And we got a lot more videos coming. So hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.
I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning again. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.